Torah to the world, know that that's like giving I hate to put it this way, like an adrenaline shot. Or a cup of coffee. L'chaim.
What was number 5?
We're not up to 5 yet. Now it's 5. Binyan Yerushalayim, the building of the intimate home between Hashem and the Jewish people, where the Shechina, which represents the most intimate connection between Hashem and Am Yisrael, resides. And Moshe Rabbeinu already davened that no people other than Am Yisrael should ever have a relationship with the Shechina. Right? Because that marriage will never be nullified, as much as billions and billions of people in this world, untold billions of people, claim that the marriage of God and the Jewish people was terminated. And they are the new spouse. That's what Christianity teaches. That's what Islam teaches.
Literally a spouse.
Literally. And therefore, who are the Jewish people? The ex. Isn't that horrible?
Yeah.
The ex-wife. The rejected wife. The one who has been sent away because of her sins. Disloyalty. And they truly believe it, and on some extent, there is a truth to that. Not that chas v'sholom we're divorced, but we are in a gullus. We are in gullus because of that. The Shechina is not with us. Now, the Shechina can be recreated any place where that relationship is developed by a Jew. Sit down and learn Torah. In fact, the Mishnah Perkei Avos says, even one person sits down and opens up a sefer of Torah, right? The Shechina comes down to sit with them. Kamakom asher azkir shemi avo elecha ubeirachticha. Wherever you call out my name, that's where I'll be.
But there are many elements of these 5 that are already in effect.
Yes, they have to be in effect.
In preparation for, like timing-wise, right?
It's ongoing. Ongoing since Adam Harishon. Ongoing. Now you're going to see people that seem to do a lot more of it than other people. Right?
What do you mean by that?
They like the Ari HaKadosh, he in several years' time, a couple of years' time in the city of Sfat, revealed a whole aspect of Lurianic Kabbalah, which was a massive, it was a download of information that no one knew. Not no one knew, it was known, but it was just hidden. And that goes into the 16th century. And the Ramban was one of those people who opened up Kabbalah to the world, the Jewish world. And by virtue of that, the non-Jewish world too. Sefer Yetzirah. He wrote a commentary on the book of Yetzirah. Interesting. He writes a commentary on Sefer Yetzirah to explain it to us.
So where's Rosh, you know this?
Okay. So you asked me, this is what happened. After Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov get Sefer Yetzirah, and Avram actually authors the Sefer Yetzirah, he writes it down, all right? The next important thing that happens is about 2,000 years later. At the end of the period of Torah. Remember, Torah is revealed to the world for a period of 2,000 years. That's what we were reading in the Gemara. The Gemara in Avodah Zarah says, Shnei Alfei Tohu, 2,000 years of chaos and emptiness. B'yom HaShlishi, the third day you're going to see fruits. What's that? That's the Elef HaShlishi. Matchil Biyos Avram ben Memches Shana. It started when Avram became 48 years old. Ve'az hechel likros b'shem Hashem. At that point, people began to call to God. God's name and essence became known to the world through Avram. B'tzemach tzadik. Every tzadik adding more. Ki meshach rabim l'das Hashem. He brought many people to learn Hashem and know about Hashem. And that is what Avram did. It's called the Nefesh Asher Asa B'Charan. The souls that he created in Haran, which are the souls of the students of Avraham and Sarah. V'tziva espeisa v'ezbanav achra v'shamru derech Hashem lasot tzedakah b'mishpat. Avram began already teaching an ethical system based on knowing God. By the way, who's the biggest machnis orchim that we know? Avram Avinu, right? His tent is open from 4 sides. He's teaching us chesed, he's teaching us righteousness. Where did Avram teach us righteousness or morality. What did Avraham Avinu not want to take from the king of Sodom? Any money and nothing, right? Because he said, I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it for the money. What? Atzrachanal. He taught us financial integrity. He taught us the idea of being a Baal Chesed, Tzedakah Mishpat. Ve'olah ha'inyan, says the Ramban, it continued to develop, Shekiblu Zaro is Torah b'Sinai, until Hashem revealed the entire Torah to the Jewish people. V'nivna abayis bayomahu. And that day, what does it mean? He's saying that the house was built that day. What do you mean the house was built that day? There was a marriage. You don't need a house unless you're married. He built the house of marriage with Hashem, which is known as the Makom where the Shekhinah resides. At that point, temporarily, it was Har Sinai. And of course, in a much later stage, it becomes the Mishkan and the Beis HaMikdash. The house was built. In fact, that's one of the teachings of Ramban. We mentioned that Ramban says all the laws of the Mishkan are derived from Har Sinai. Just as they put a border around Har Sinai and you couldn't go running up on Har Sinai, so too there's a Machaneh Yisrael and a Machaneh Leviah, and then there's a Mishkan, there's higher levels of sanctity where you can go. The 70 Zikanim went up to the Machaneh, the inner Machaneh, but not all the way into the Kodesh Kodashim where Moshe Rabbeinu went. Get it? So everything is modeled on that. That's a quote from the Ramban at the very beginning, Bereshis. Okay. And Rishon Bar Yochai gave us the boost known as Sefer HaZohar at the termination point of Torah, which is the 2,000 years of Torah were from 2,000 to 3,000, right? And then comes the year 3,000 till the year 4,000, and that's where Rishon Bar Yochai comes in at the year 4,000, which is approximately 240 before the Common Era. A little earlier, it's towards the end of what we call the fourth day, the year 3,000 till the year 4,000. The year 4,000 is known as 240 CE. By that time, the Mishnah has been completed. The Zohar has been redacted, at least by Rav Shimon Bar Yochai and his students. We got it. That started from Raziel HaMalach and goes through, which is there's also another book called Sefer HaBahir. That's attributed to the Tana Nechunya ben Hakana, who's earlier, let's say contemporaneous with Shimon Bar Yochai. And that book adds the concept known as Gilgulim. That Hashem is running the world because He's perfecting souls and He's giving souls lots and lots of chances. How many chances?
With that, day 4 and like what?
In day four, which is the second half of Torah, we got a lot more. Remember, we are already in the period in which we get the Mishnah and we get the final books of the Kabbalah. We get the basis of all the Torah that we have today. Everything. All right, but it still was going to go through stages of development. So the Ramban says, and I must read this with you. You ready? This is in Vayikra Chaf Hei Gimel. Vayikra Chaf Hei Gimel. He says, Chof aznacha lishmoa mashani rishoy lashmiacha. I'm going to reveal to you a secret, right? Remember I told you he was giving you secrets of Torah? I'm going to tell you a secret. And listen carefully to the way I'm telling it to you. Im tisku mititbonein. If you're going to get it, you'll get it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. Remember, you tell a secret. Nobody understands the secret. I'm not going to spell it out for you. Okay, it's a secret. So he says, I wrote in Bereshis that the world is 6,000 years, and then there's Shabbos. Okay, and he goes on to say how sevens are very important. A cycle. There's Shemitah, etc., etc. Now, he links it to Shemitah, and then he speaks about all the importance of Yovel and how everything is modeled on that. And then he says like this. Ukrata be'eretz dror, you'll call freedom to the land, is referring to what he says, the revelation of the Eitz HaChaim, which is Kabbalah. Okay, I'm just reading you a little keta from this. Why? Because here, what the Ramban is saying is that I'm going to give you some secrets. Where is he giving us secrets? In his commentary on the Torah. That's outrageous. Because the commentary on the Torah was a popular commentary. Since when do you put secrets in a popular commentary? Rashi didn't put secrets in his commentary. No. He put midrashim. Now, midrashim contain secrets. This is true. But he doesn't try to explain them to us. Suddenly, the Ramban becomes a teacher of Kabbalah. So what I want to just say is that let's take a look at Ramban from this perspective. At this point, we're trying to understand the Ramban in the context of how he modeled the 5 primary jobs of Mashiach ben Yosef. Number 1, to fight the wars of Hashem. Number 2, to remove the Goyim's yoke over us. 3, to bring Jews back to Eretz Yisrael. 4, to reveal secrets of the hidden aspects of Torah. And 5, to rebuild Yerushalayim. Okay?
He was the first time that he took these 5 principles.
No.
He just reiterated them.
Constant. Yeah, there's constant reiteration.
There's always somebody.
There's always somebody, yes. There's always those people going on at any time. There's always a real Mashiach ben Yosef and a real Mashiach ben David in every generation doing their thing to whatever extent that they can. Again, it's always in potential, and there's impact. Things happen. I mean, Rashbi did it. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi did it. There are different great tzaddikim along the way that play their part. I'm going to give you a terrible analogy. You ready? That's because I wrote an article about the Super Bowl last week, so I'm using popular media, okay, to teach ideas, because people can relate to that. I think they can relate to that. Right? Here's an article. You can look it up at 5 Towns Jewish Times. It's on this week's edition on the front page. 11 reasons why this was the most important Super Bowl ever. I know, you don't appreciate it. Okay, fine. Next. So this is for you. Everybody knows Star Wars, right? Yes, okay. You never watched Star Wars? Okay. I mean, come on. Who didn't watch Star Wars? You know, they wrote books about the theology of Star Wars. I'm not a big fan of their theology always, but there's some interesting concepts there. Good versus evil. Right? Important. And what do they use to fight with? Right, lightsabers. Yeah, why lightsabers? Vayihi or, because everything about knowledge of Hashem is connected to the word or. Or. It's always about light versus darkness. That's everything. When we speak about the or, the hidden light of the tzaddikim, the lights of the Hanukkah candles, always it's light banishing darkness. Now, in that world, there's what they call Jedi, otherwise known as Yidden. Yidden.
Luke Skywalker.
Right? Every Jew has a lightsaber because we all have a spark of the divine light in our neshama that no other nation has. They don't have it. We got it at Har Sinai, and it's our spiritual thing. Now, just because the force is with us does not mean that we know how to use the sword. Right? We're uninitiated. We don't even know our own power. This is the biggest problem of the world and in everybody's life. We do not know our power. We underestimate our power. The Yetzer Hara is all day telling us, you're a flop. You got nothing done today. Nothing that you've contributed is important or original. Okay, so why should I bother? Instead of, wow, you have something special to contribute. Your words, your teachings, your influence, your this can make a difference.
But it's nothing without Torah.
Right. Our lightsaber is twofold. It's a double-edged sword. We speak about cherev pipios. At the bris milah, you use a double-edged sword. Torah and tefillah. Torah and tefillah. Those are the lightsabers. Yachol liot. Well, that's a good analogy. Okay, so actually, Rabbi Nachman refers to this in one of his earliest teachings in the book, in Likutei Moharan. He says, you gotta know how to use the sword of tefillah. And he says this idea that tzedakah and chesed will actually point your sword in the right direction. In other words, you can't use prayer unless you have the merit of chesed. Hashem will listen to you. Hashem will listen to you if you are a Baal Tzedakah, if you are a person who utilizes chesed and cares about others. To do chesed, that's the type of person that has power of prayer. A tzaddik, by definition, is other interested. Their job is to perfect every other person, give them everything that they have, including the shirt off their back. That's a real tzaddik. And that person has the power. So think of it this way. Everybody has a potential for this. Some realize their potential more than others. Some become the master Jedi. Lahavdil. The Heilige Yids. A groisa tzaddik. Those people are the ones that really, really move the chains, so to speak. Lahavdil. They move Klal Yisrael towards their goal. Ramban was one of them. And so what we're going to do, I'm just going to summarize what we spoke about today. Our job, next couple of classes, is to show each of these roles that the Ramban did. We're going to match the Ramban and think of him in this framework and in the time frame that he was, which was a very, very critical time. It was the beginning of the Elef Hashishi. The beginning of the 6th day is when the Ramban appears on the scene to give us a push forward that was very, very, very critical for Klal Yisrael. And his job will be to fight wars. Where did the Ramban fight wars? What was he? A military tactician? Which war did the Ramban fight? One of the greatest toe-to-toe battles of the medieval world was the theological debate of the Ramban in front of James I of Aragon, which we will go into in some detail. Secondly, he fought wars inside the Jewish world. What war did he fight in the Jewish world? He conquered the Jewish world. He conquered the entire Jewish world and made peace between the Sephardic rabbis and the rabbis of North Africa and the rabbis of France and Provence and Spain, who were fighting the Yehuda Yosef battle, which is, do I sequester myself in a world of Kedusha and mitzvos and stay away from everything else? Or do I enter the world of philosophy and commerce and science and mathematics and medicine and stand strong in that world with my beliefs and make a contribution?
Same now.
It's no change. These things never change. Just like Yehuda and Yosef come around every year, same parashiyos, we read them all the time. It is a great, great battle, but ultimately it has to be merged. I heard something very interesting today, and will this?
Be a balance between the two?
Yes, there has to be a merger. Yeah. There has to be a partnership between Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David, but it requires an outside person. Wait, you have to listen to this. Just let me add this point. According to Ramchal, everybody, the Zohar, there's actually there's a third element. Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David is like oil and water. How do we bring them together? Moshe. There's something called Moshe Mashiach. Because Moshe was the one, right, who held the Jewish people together, held those tribes together, and created out of them a unified Klal Yisrael. What was the Ramban's name? Moshe. Mm. And he literally played the role of Moshe to keep all those tribes quiet and happy. A remarkable achievement. Remarkable. And so he fought the wars of Hashem internally in Klal Yisrael and toe-to-toe with the kings, with the most famous kings. James I of Aragon, very, very famous king in the sense that he was a philosopher and he was a devout Christian and he was kind of open-minded and he preached Christianity, but he had a lot of, he was very impressed with the Ramban. I told you what he said about the Ramban. He says, never has anybody defended the wrong position better than you. No one won better. No losing team won better than you won. And he gave him a lot of money. In terms of bringing back Jews to Eretz Yisrael and rebuilding Yerushalayim and revealing Sisrei Torah, as we will see, from the year that the Ramban enters Eretz Yisrael in 1270, just 3 years after his debate, he builds a shul, known today as, the Ramban shul. Churba is another thing. That's Yehuda Chasser. Right. That shul has had continuous presence in Yerushalayim since the Ramban.
Which shul?
The Ramban shul. Next to the Churba, underneath the Churba. There were two. The Churba was another shul. Was Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid. That's a different shul.
I've always seen it.
We'll talk about that. But it's one unit. The Ramban, literally, I read it today. It's an amazing thing. He writes how when he arrived in Yerushalayim, everything was such a churban. It was abandoned buildings. He said, if you wanted a building, if anything was standing, all you had to do was go in it, fix it up, and it was yours.
Wow.
That's how abandoned Yerushalayim was. He said they found a building that had nice marble columns. They took it and they made a shul. And since that point, there's been continuous presence in Eretz Yisrael, more than a handful of people. When the Ramban came to Yerushalayim, there were 4 Jews in Yerushalayim. 4 Jews. And what was their job? The only reason that they were there is because the Arab, the Muslim ruler, they knew how to make dye. They had something that they knew how to do. They would dye fabric, colors. They knew how to do it better than anybody. And that was their job. And they had a minyan in their house. They were not allowed to have a synagogue.
Well, they didn't have a minyan.
Well, 4 Jews lived inside Yerushalayim. And then they used to come to Yerushalayim for Shabbos and stay in his house from around the neighborhood. And that was it. When Ramban comes, he builds a shul. That shul never, ever ceases to exist. Jewish presence in Yerushalayim has not stopped. That's why every historian marks the modern era of Jerusalem from the day the Ramban walked into Yerushalayim. So tell me, does he qualify for Binyan Yerushalayim?
Yeah.
Did he give us, and when does he write his Perush on the Ramban? In the 3 years that he's in Eretz Yisrael. From 1267 to 1270, the Ramban writes his Perush on the Torah, the third known great Perush on the Torah in history. First being Rashi, the second being Ibn Ezra, and the third being the Ramban. And in that book, he reveals the hidden secrets of the Torah in a way that no one ever did prior to him. Okay? So we're going to explore this a little bit more in depth. Any questions?
Why did he leave?
Are you making the case that he was somehow the beginning of Mashiach ben Yosef? I mean, is Mashiach ben Yosef one person who does all of this?
I'm making the case that he was a messianic figure. He predicted that Mashiach would be finished in his end of right after his lifetime, and that he had a major role to play, and that his thinking was shaped by his own teachings. He taught it. Okay, we're going to stop here. It was, I'll explain to you. The Elif Hashishi was the first opportunity for the real Golus to end. Because there was a tradition that it was going to be 1,000-year Golus Edom. 1,000 years, Jews will have absolutely no opportunity at all to make Mashiach unless it was tremendous upheaval. But starting from the year 1240, Mashiach became much more possible and plausible. And that's why you'll see Balei Tosfos arriving at that time. There was a big belief that 1240 was a key point, because it's true, they were correct. That 1240 was an important turning point. And you'll see many people appear on the scene in Eretz Yisrael at that time and get the ball rolling. But it really took many, it took another about 500 years. Well, 500 years. It took another 700 years to really develop. 600 years.
But that being,
Every time.
I mean, less.
Always against the
that being said, with the
Okay.
timeframe